Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles, to be specific. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Agree to Disagree here on the TNAM Radio Network. My name's Brian Engelman. I'm going to be your host, as I have been for the past 5 years. Thank you to everyone who's linked up with us. Here's how you do it. YouTube.com/TheNewAmericanMedia. Our Twitter and Facebook link, as well as the TNAM radio button where you listen to this show live. It's at TheNewAmericanMedia.com. On the right-hand side, Twitter, Facebook, and the live link. Make sure you're connected. Instagram.com/TheNewAmericanMedia. No, we don't have a Pinterest account yet. We do have Snapchat, although we don't use it. That would be under the New American Media. But hey, just get connected. We're sending out different information all across all of these different mediums as we roll into what some people are describing as the most important election in American history. Yeah. I'm sure you've never heard that one before, but this one is pretty important. So we're going to bring in Blake the Eccentric Walley to talk about it. He's at Eccentric99 on Twitter. You want to make sure that you go ahead and follow him. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, Facebook is censoring Republican posts and making sure they don't go viral. I just heard another report that Facebook is the most influential media company in the world. Why is that important? Well, it's pretty important. What about Hillary? Is Hillary taking $100 million from the Middle East? What's the latest in her email investigation? Man, I could barely say it. I know Hillary, she said something different too. It's not an investigation. We're not familiar with that term you just used, Miss Clinton. Yes, this is an investigation. So we're going to get Blake in to get an update on what's going on in his world. He's living off the grid, sort of, quasi.
Greetings.
Greetings, Blake. How you doing, sir?
Hot. It's a warm day out today.
Yes, I introduced you as living quasi off the grid, or off the grid quasi. How are things going? What's the latest over at Freedom Ranch? Recap people as to your journey and what you're up to in life if this is the first time they're checking it out.
Well, I have lost my mind and decided to quit my job and sell my house and do a little more media work and maybe, travel around a little bit. So I bought an RV and I went from Vegas to Freedom Ranch. That's in an undisclosed location in northern Arizona. And I've been here for a couple of months.
And who is Freedom Ranch? Who set that place up?
You're forcing me to name drop? That would be Adam Kokesh.
Well, it's okay. It's a name drop, but it kind of sets the tone for a guy that is running for president in 4 years to under the platform of completely dismantling the federal government. It's even further, to the extreme of maximum liberty than even the Libertarian Party. But yeah, it's it's very interesting. You said you lost your mind and sold your home and got an RV. But to be fair, Blake, you lost your mind a while ago, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good. Good.
I had kind of an obsession with the state of the world and the news cycle and stuff like that over the last several years. So I was kind of going nuts while I had the house and the job, but trying to find a little bit more time. And in that process, yes. So I just kind of completed everything, and we'll see where this journey takes me. I have no idea.
Do you find that you actually miss the house anytime, or are you just totally cool, like, hey, man, left that on the table? It's done. That's another chapter in my life. That's over.
Mick, I think I'm kind of over it now, but there were times the first month or two where I was kind of like, I really had a nice condo and a good thing going, but so it wasn't easy, and sometimes but then at the same time it's like, do I really want that life? And I kind of felt like I had kind of peaked where I was, and that it was all kind of downhill from there. So it was probably a good time to take the money and run, while I had that, and so you got to take some risks in life sometimes, maybe, and that was certainly a big one for me. So hopefully, maybe someday I'll be in a bigger house, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm glad I took that and did that, or who knows, maybe I'll be doing these shows from my parents' basement next year, and damn it, I should have just kept my job, and who knows? I have no idea. We'll certainly or you're gonna be like, I don't want that loser on my show anymore. So yeah, an exciting an adventure of life. So
we only
it can't be replaced.
We only get one life this time around.
Right.
That's all we get. We get one life this time around. So, if we found ourselves in, and part of the reason why I left Ohio, I ran because I felt myself finding a very comfortable rut, and I didn't want to settle in. I wanted to continue with my machete, forging my own trail. There were plenty of roads that were already there, but I had started building a base camp in the jungle, and I said, no, I'm not done exploring yet. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to set up shop right here. And, essentially that's what you did by going mobile. But, anyway, it's, you better be putting a book together about all this, man. On a daily, you better be jotting some stuff down. It's got to be a heck of an experience.
Well, just... if I was like, really moving around a lot around the country, it would be one thing. But this has been a great stop for me at Freedom Ranch. But, the day-to-day activities are sort of, it's kind of a quiet routine and quiet off-the-grid conditions. So it's not really, I would say, like, that exciting. There's a lot of work to be done when you're kind of when you're starting out homesteading, which is what Adam is doing right now, building a house. So, it's probably not, I don't know, but I hope there's going to be some different things going on. There's going to be traveling around. There's going to be some more adventures, hoping to go to the conventions, go a little, see a little of the East Coast, and, go back home. And there's going to be some more exciting things happening. But I mean, there was a great time this week. We went to Sedona this week. Went on a little hike. I'll do a little more name dropping. Luke Radowski and Derek Brose were there, some super activists. So that was pretty cool to hang out with some interesting people. So there's there's some good stuff there.
Let's just do a 30-minute cartoon or a 30-minute documentary with Derek Brose, Luke Radowski, Adam Kokesh, and Blake Walley in Sedona. Let's just put that together as a sitcom. I wonder how many episodes we could get out of that. That would, man, to be a fly on the wall. What an interesting thing. Yeah, Sedona, that's where a lot of people say there's a big energy vortex there, and I definitely traveled to it. And you're close enough. I would recommend you go to Jerome, Arizona, where Maynard has one of his vineyards up there at the top of a old copper mining town. It was voted America's wickedest city. It was all brothels and bars and jails and
sounds like my kind of town.
Exactly, going from Sin City to this place. But
I almost moved to Pahrump. There you go.
Pahrump. Yeah, I hope to move to an onomatopoeia at some point in my life as well. Pahrump.
What is that?
Onomatopoeia. It's like when you a word like boing, like it sounds like the thing that it is. Pahrump.
Okay, gotcha.
I could just imagine like there's actually a definition for pahrump, which means I don't know, whatever it means. Anyhow, moving right along. So let's get into the news because while we're used to having these longer shows, this one's going to be a little bit shorter today. We're probably more along the lines of 20 minutes now that we did our 10-minute intro, but that's okay. We've been planning on doing a lot more of these, shorter shows more often in frequency. We'll see how that actually works out in practice. It's all a matter of getting the schedules to work, but it's a busy news week, as you would say, as you used to say on your show. By the way, he's at Eccentric99 on Twitter. I recommend you connect with him and check out his homepage, eccentricperspective.com. Blake, let's start with Facebook. I think this thing is vital because, I saw another report that Facebook is perhaps the most influential media company in history, and it comes
Well,
out
platform that, yeah,
Sure.
a very extremely popular platform, right? There's a lot of news going through there on a daily basis, Yeah.
So it's important when you hear a story from I guess you would say a whistleblower saying that there were specific directives and conversations about making sure that air quote Republican news stories didn't go viral. Walk us through what we learned about that this week.
Okay, well, there was some anonymous sources at Facebook, and they had like a little news team, and they leaked to the press this what do you call it, website Gizmodo, or is it and then they said that in addition to suppressing conservative news sources, the company suppresses stories about itself while artificially promoting stories about the Black Lives Matter movement, and of course any other progressive issue that they see fit. So I guess it'd be kind of like Twitter, and you can see the trends. And Facebook has trends. You got 1.6 billion people. That's just an enormously popular website, and people share news and information amongst all kinds of any number of things. But it's a big deal when you're manipulating the news site. It's one thing to have this like free platform and anyone can do what they want. That's kind of the way it was seemed to be set up. But then you have almost like gatekeepers controlling what stories go viral or not. That's kind of that's obviously not a good thing. Or if they're not going to be in somebody's news feeds or what have you. There's manipulation going on, and it can be kind of dangerous in one level when you're controlling what people see and hear, and trying to put interject what you want them to see and hear.
Yeah, it's very important if you need to be aware of what's actually happening. Are you getting a full dose of what's going on, or are there advanced algorithms that are controlling the day, if you will? And I just wanted to kind of reset to this one. This is an in case you missed it from Thursday, October 2nd of 2014. It says, Facebook sorry, almost, for secret psychological experiments on their users. The emotion-altering project should have been done differently, they said. The company was unprepared for the negative reactions. So here's the story. Facebook says the huge psychological experiment it secretly conducted on its users should have been done differently, and announced a new set of guidelines for how it will approach future research studies. In a blog post on Thursday, Mike Schroepfer, Chief Technology Officer, said the company had been unprepared for the negative reactions it received when it published the results of an experiment in June. Facebook published the results of a 2012 study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Unbeknownst to users, Facebook had tampered with the news feeds of nearly 700,000 people, showing them an abnormally low number of either positive or negative posts. The experiment aimed to determine whether the company could alter the emotional state of its users. News of the research sparked outrage from people who felt manipulated by the company. Quote, "What many of us feared is already a reality. Facebook is using us as lab rats, and not just to figure out which ads we'll respond to, but actually changing our emotions," wrote AnimalNewYork.com, a blog post that drew attention to the study in June. The experiment was designed to assess whether more positive or negative comments in a Facebook newsfeed would impact how the user updated their own page. Facebook used an algorithm to filter the content. Researchers found those shown more negative comments posted more negative comments, and vice versa. So, Blake, I mean, this is nothing new from a company that should not be trusted. What do you think? How do you think it plays out if, certain less popular, less trending news stories are boosted to make it appear as though they're bigger stories than they really are, when really important stories on the other side are turned into, oh, there's nothing there, nothing to see, literally nothing to see, like you wouldn't even see it? What do you think that does to people?
Well, like I said, you control and manipulate people by, with the information and getting them to react the way that you want them to. It's like, it could be used like a sophisticated propaganda, like, by, if you think about dictators and it's like a dream to do stuff like that. you know, and well, I mean that's not good. That's a censorship and messing with people. I don't know.
You know,
I don't really know what to say outside of that. I mean, I'll pause here, Brian.
well, I mean, do you
Where are
think?
you going, or where do you
Well,
what
no,
do you
I mean,
think?
I guess
Yeah,
I'm just wondering to wrap this up is,
yeah.
um, I mean, do you think it's happening? Because there's now an outreach program to meet with I don't know what Republican leaders or people to assure them that's not really happening. This was an anonymous source. I guess just we'll leave it at the basic question as we continue to do some more research on it. Do you think that it's happening because it's being denied?
It's being denied. Of course, they're walking this back, and like this person can't that's leaking this information or persons. They're legally bound. They can be sued if they find out who they are. They have to sign a contract when they get with Facebook. So it's going to be but I mean it seems pretty legitimate. And they're we got a senator calling out Facebook and asking him about the algorithms and how it handles its news articles and its trending list, and it's responding to these staff members. It's more than a few, and I thought it was interesting today. I saw somebody who has been banned on Twitter or suspended, who's been had some controversies, is this guy. I want to try to pronounce his name, Milo
Yiannopoulos.
Yiannopoulos from Breitbart,
Yeah.
who is challenging Mark Zuckerberg to a live debate.
Oh.
And they just want to know. So I think there is something to that. I think they've shown that, and it's always kind of been suspected for years that they were manipulating the information, and now you've got people, leaking that that they worked on the news teams and they saw it happen, and now they're being called out in Washington, and now they're being called out by these reporters. And I haven't seen Facebook step up and really answer these questions, no matter what they say.
Well, regarding unanswered questions, let's make a pivot because it's a breaking story. We're still learning some more about it, and let's see. Let's see if Milo and I'll tell you what. And he's been on our interview list for too long. I got to get him into the show. He's a very interesting character. But yeah, I mean, why not? I would love to see a conversation between those two. I would, in fact, I would make the offer that I would moderate that debate here at the New American Media. That conversation. I would gladly moderate that here. I think that would be fantastic. I'd have the timers and the buzzers, and I'd have to play the role of the school principal or something during the Republican debates, trying to get people to stop talking. But no, I think it's a very interesting thing, interesting story to follow, and a very interesting thing that's happening in social media as this continues to expand. You're right. I mean, despots and banana republic dictators and the Hitlers and the Maos and the Stalins and the Obamas, they would to get technology like this that can actually fully function and fully drive the news and it's happening. It is definitely happening. It's been happening for years, and we need to be very cognizant and aware of that when things start popping, when a big story starts trending everywhere. We have to think, why? Is this artificial? Is this a distraction from something else? So I wanted to bounce over to unanswered questions. We could easily get to Hillary Clinton, but did you have anything to add with Congressman X? Because I know you brought up congressmen getting involved in this or this situation with Facebook.
It's Senator John Thune. I believe he's from South Dakota. Let's see here. Asking whether the curators had in fact manipulated the content. Facebook denied. Here is a quote. If there's any level of subjectivity associated with it, or if, as reports have suggested, that there might have been an attempt to suppress conservative stories or keep them from trending and get other stories out there, I think it's important for people to know that. And I completely agree. And yes, I don't think they have Facebook in China or something, but if they did, I think that's how they would try to run.
Well, they get censored versions that are run through their government.
Okay, and then I'm sure that that's all their trending stories are all going to be, pro state. Obviously, they won't even allow you to, contradict that. You'll never get any other stories to trend, and that would be the
But that's what we're headed
way that
for
they would
here.
control it.
That's exactly, it's going to be sliding that Overton window just a little bit in the other direction, just slowly but surely. That will just become a normative thing.
These people think they know best for us, and they want to keep their ideology strong and make it look like they're the majority, and that the conservative voices are and taking that away, or there's Milo guy going after him because of some of the things he says, and using that as an excuse to censor his posts. That's not the way it should be. But I mean, if they want a business, if they're their own business, they can do what they want. That's fine. But as the senator says, at least let us know. That would be one thing. If they want to be like, hey, we're a bunch of super progressive liberals, and we take a bunch of George Soros money, and we're gonna play with the content, and conservatives are gonna have aren't gonna have much of a voice on here, then that's fine. Then they can run their business that way. And then, conservatives can go find their own place. But I don't know. That would, kill a lot of revenue for Facebook, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, but we just have to be upfront and honest about it. And, if we want to go from that to the least upfront and honest thing you could imagine, let's talk about Hillary Clinton. A couple things going on this week. I don't know which place you'd like to start on the crazy Hillary Clinton front.
I think I want to start with the article/video from Judge Andrew Napolitano out of Fox News. Hillary's team prepares for the worst as she finds herself in a perfect storm of legal misery. So I would just say that Hillary's 5 closest advisors have been interrogated by the FBI, even though they act like there's no investigation going on, or they're playing little word games and there's nothing to hide and this and that, and she looks forward to speaking to the FBI. I don't believe any of it, and neither should you. I guess they've had some videotaped testimony from a federal judge to determine if there was a conspiracy to evade federal transparency laws. So all these people working together. Another point of interest is this one of her people that she was working with, this Brian Pagliano, who worked at the State Department for 4 years. They can't find any of his emails for those 4 years that he was employed. He was a tech expert, and apparently she paid him $5,000 to move her, her secure government official accounts to her, private server.
Oh, that sounds purely coincidental, Blake.
I'm sure it is. Of course, this is a criminal act, and but of course, there's a possibility that this Brian Pagliano could be the government's chief witness. Maybe they're working a deal with him behind the scenes to tell everybody what's going on. Otherwise, he's going to be in an enormous amount of trouble. He's going to fall on Hillary's sword for her, but I still don't think she's going to get out of this unscathed. And it's got to be rough. What if you're the tech expert at the State Department, and all of a sudden you get a woman as powerful as Hillary Clinton, giving you money to, do some illicit things. And it's kind of hard to say no to that, I'm sure. And I wouldn't want to be in his position. So hopefully he's ratting her out and spilling his guts, because this kind of corruption can't continue. She needs to have her day in court. It's time to move on from the Clintons and the Bushes and everything. But anyway, let's see here. There are FBI. Let's see. Now apparently they've been able to retrieve her emails from her server. We're not really 100%, but I guess they're hoping that they can get this Brian Pagliano's too. If they're able to get hers, maybe they can get his, because they were missing for 4 years. We've got some problems with leakage, of course. Supposedly Russia has like 20,000 of her emails.
Man.
I'm not sure if they got them from her directly, or if maybe they got them also from Sidney Blumenthal, like Guccifer did when he got access.
No. Let's just say it was Edward Snowden to continue the narrative that he's a traitor.
Okay, it sounds fair. But yeah. So, yeah, they brought Guccifer out from Romania, extradited him, talked to him, and he explained how he got in there. So, if he can get in, I'm sure that there's some real, there's hackers that are a lot, more skilled than he is, and a lot of governments out there that could have very easily gotten into her emails, and they played games and they moved these things around and took the classification marks off of them. I mean, there's a lot of really bad stuff that went on. You had several people involved, and in fact, her main lawyer, Cheryl Mills, had to leave a meeting, stormed out of the room because apparently they asked her a question that she had agreed that they wouldn't answer, or that they didn't want to talk about. So there's some pretty incriminating stuff there. If you're making deals that you're not going to talk about certain things, that's kind of an indication that there's some guilt, and a lot of people are probably running scared right now, and hopefully Hillary is too.
Well, think about it. If you might be the government's best witness here, yes, you wouldn't want to be in that position, but however, I'd say the odds are about 50-50. You either end up on the Clinton death list, along the, with Vince Foster, and, you can go down that whole list of people connected with the Clintons that have mysteriously been killed or passed away under suspicious circumstances or shot themselves twice in the back of the head. Or you could be on the receiving end of a Clinton Foundation charitable contribution to the new startup venture that you're about to embark upon. You have the threats and the intimidation, and you have the bribery options. So let's veer away from that for a second and talk about what's going on with Hillary and where her fundraising money is coming from.
Well, there was a big report this week by the Daily Caller that apparently Hillary received $100 million.
Whoa!
From, Persian Gulf sheiks. Yeah, basically Middle East interests. Let's see here. How about an article here from the Daily Sheeple? How much more of a Hillary Clinton scandals can America take? And a bombshell report from the Daily Caller says the Clinton Foundation, a purported not-for-profit charity headed by Bill, Hillary, and daughter Chelsea, has amassed a fortune from oil-rich Mid-East nations to the tune of $100 million. And national security analyst Patrick Poole says the amount of cash donated to the Clintons is simply unprecedented. Here's another quote from Poole, who says, "These regimes are buying access. You've got the Saudis, you've got the Kuwaitis, Oman, Qatar, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. They are the massive conflicts of interest. It's beyond comprehension." So
nothing to worry about there, huh?
Well, think about it. Could you imagine, like, if this happened to like a president of the past? Could you imagine, George Washington taking, the equivalent of let's say $1 million from the Dutch East, tea company. What was it? Dutch East? I forget now. But anyway, or taking money from, King George, or, John Kennedy taking, millions of dollars and, special interests from South America or the Middle East or Africa. And then it's amazing what, the politicians are getting away with. And this is still considered the front runner for president in 2016. It is pretty mind-boggling.
I don't see how anybody could possibly still have her as the front runner. Do you know a single person?
Dutch East India Company. I apologize.
Dutch East India Company. Do you know people that are very excited for Hillary Clinton? We keep hearing this, but why do we keep hearing this? We keep hearing this perhaps because Facebook and the dinosaur media wants to manipulate us into the things that we hear so that we believe a certain narrative that may or may not even be quasi-realistic.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if I wonder if those big stories that we've been talking about, I wonder how they've fared on the Facebook and Twitter lists. or have they been suppressed or blacklisted or what have you?
Yeah. Well, that's why we do what we do, because if you only get a few minutes during the week to check out a show, I want this to be the place where you come in and, just bang out the important stories from the week and go, all right, I'm up to snuff. I think you and I are still refining that, but that's what I envision this being. Once a week we check in, and it's just, we just nail all of the most important stories. Not that we're getting all of the most important stories. I haven't mentioned the Cleveland Cavaliers being undefeated, the only team in the NBA playoffs that are undefeated so far, and playing lights out basketball. But I digress. That's for my next show with Zach Barris, coming up on thenewamericanmedia.com with our show, The Unhappy Hour. Check it out if you like sports. We'll talk Spurs and Oklahoma City Thunder and Golden State Warriors and more. Oh yeah, Heat and Raptors. That's where we have to put our focus first, which is getting a little tough to do these days. But anyhow, I digress. You also had a story, Blake, about Elizabeth Warren, something you wanted to float out there because she's being floated out there. An all estrogen ticket? Is that kind of what we're hearing from the Democrat side?
I mean, I think they'd love to see that happen. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. It was actually it was Joe Biden saying that he wanted Elizabeth Warren as his VP. If that would have happened, it's unknown exactly how Hillary and Elizabeth get along. If they're on the same page, Hillary's pretty much she might as well be like a warmongering Republican in certain ways. And so I don't know if that is going to mesh well with Elizabeth Warren's populist progressivism, if you will.
And and Hillary's a queen.
Queen Hillary. So
I mean, it really is a queen. She feels so entitled that this is her turn, and she's been there, done that, and she's up. Like she really believes that she's better than everybody else.
Yeah, she'd love to be coronated as the queen. She would definitely accept that if that was an option for her. No doubt about it.
Oh, no. I could never accept being a queen. That would go against the founding principles of this great country. Sure. Right. Yeah, I would believe that one.
Yeah, but what was the other issue with Elizabeth Warren? I thought it was funny because, they always act like she's this great populist. But, of course, she was not for the auditing of the Federal Reserve. And I was kind of I trolled her on Twitter the other day because, instead of like calling for an audit of the Federal Reserve, she was going after the Federal Reserve because their top panel of like 12 members is predominantly like white males.
Oh man, we're
like,
still
really?
on that. Okay.
Like this is your out of these 12 like big banking heads, like this is the big story. If you were really a populist, if you really cared about the people, you would be calling for a full audit of the Fed. And then she gets this, she's this big champion of fighting Wall Street. I'm just not buying it at all. So go ahead and run, Elizabeth. I don't know if she would actually fit with Hillary. And of course, if Hillary gets taken down, I don't know if she could go with Biden. Maybe that would be the one thing that would be kind of an establishment ticket of sorts that people might be able to get excited about to go against Trump if they have to do that, if it comes down to it. Yeah.
Trump is going to tear her apart.
Exactly.
By the way, hold on. I want to get to that in a second, but I wanted to bring up Elizabeth Warren didn't go after, trying to find out more information about what our Federal Reserve System really is, and by our, I mean their private bank. That's not a federal government. That's not a federal government program. That's not in the Justice Department, the Treasury. They work hand in hand. They have an exclusive agreement, but they're not a government entity, which is why it's so important to study the Federal Reserve. And that's what a lot of the Ron Paul type people were saying back in 2011, 2012. Audit the Fed. Look at the Federal Reserve. Look at our standard of living. Look at how little a dollar buys you today. It's because our money is being artificially devalued. there's really not much else to say about it. So, one of the early reasons why I had a problem with Ted Cruz. Now, don't get me wrong. Donald Trump says Edward Snowden's a traitor and needs to be executed. But Ted Cruz, he totally backed off of the Federal Reserve too. So that was one of the big reservations I had about him. Did you find it weird that he did, or just knowing that his wife's so hooked up with Goldman Sachs, you expected Ted Cruz to pull that move and not be present when that issue was floating around?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. He wasn't present. It wasn't necessarily that he voted against it. But,
to me, it's the same thing.
That's
an
a way,
important
it would have
issue.
been a nice gesture. He should have been there regardless of if he knew it wasn't going to go or not. Yeah, can you imagine if it was a vote short? Then I would. He would be enemy number one. That would have been a disaster. That would have derailed him completely. And I'm sorry, I forget what other questions did you mention there that I missed?
What the heck were? Oh, that Donald Trump would he's going to destroy Hillary Clinton in the debates. He's just going to. People do not treat Hillary Clinton the way that Donald Trump is going to tear into her. She deserves. You know what? If there's any person on this planet that deserves to be ripped to shreds, verbally, metaphorically, intellectually, factually, it would be Hillary Clinton. And to sick Donald Trump on Hillary Clinton and say, go. We've been wanting to say a lot of this for a long time. Mister who had her at his wedding, and you're also a man of power. What do you really think about Hillary? And that crooked Hillary, that thing is sticking because it's true. It's very juvenile. It's like second grade. That's crooked Hillary over there.
It's good because it's not criminal. It's crooked, and we know. I think it was a great nickname.
I think it's going to stick. Absolutely.
The Democrats are they're trying to think of something. I forget what the dangerous Donald or something. They're trying to come up with something to go after him with. I don't know if it's going to stick or not. So they're still working on it. And right now, of course, they're going after him for some ridiculous. There's a legitimate issue with the tax returns that I can't defend.
Yeah.
Today's issue is that he was John Miller, that he because now we got this Washington Post.
That's right.
Team. Yeah, Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, owns the Washington Post, and he's hired a recruiter or whatever, a 20-man hit team to go dig up dirt on Donald Trump. And they're trying to drop a bombshell today because apparently when Donald Trump was going through some divorce, he got some calls from the press. I forget it was kind of a non-issue to me.
Here's a bombshell. A husband going through a divorce is not a fan of his ex-wife. Wow, what a bombshell. Run with that. That's page one. Breaking news here, kid. Wow.
So I guess they called him. This is a long time ago, asking him about something about his details of his marriage or something like that, and a couple other things. And he acted as a PR man, and it's his voice. So he was going by the name John Miller, even though it was Donald Trump, and acting as his own guy, which is kind of funny. The thing is, it was 25 years ago. This is back in 1991.
Hello, my name is Jonald Brumpf. I'm Jonald
right.
Brumpf, and my ex-wife, I think she's crazy. Yeah, wow, wonderful. I don't know.
Right. I'm tempted to pull this story up, but I only get to read 10 articles a month by the Washington Post, and I've already probably clicked on that article twice today already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really this is what you're doing with this is journalism. This is the respected Washington Post is you're finding that 25 years ago Donald Trump acted as his own PR man.
You know what? And this is good though, Blake, because we do have to wrap today's show up, but. Yeah. It's perfect, right? Today's show is bookended with Facebook censoring and filtering news, and then you have the Washington Post censoring and filtering and editing and skewing their coverage. It's shocking. That's why I think more and more people are turning to the new American media, whether you mean that literally as our company, or to the new American media, which is something other than these dinosaurs that are lumbering around. They've gotten away with this for so long. It's just never been this obvious before when they're lying to you. They're vying for your vote and straight up lying to you. You're a commodity. That's what Facebook says. Look at what Bezos is doing. I mean, consider the source. What was that? The Sammy Jenks, that was the tattoo in Memento. Consider the source. Always consider the source. And when you're getting information from places that are so manipulated and so corrupted and so slanted, you know what? We are slanted here because we think Hillary is completely unfit to hold the office of presidency here at the New American Media. That is our official position. Now, have we found and been able to point at somebody that we think is going to be the answer? Well, you know, Bernie Sanders would bring a few interesting things and a whole lot of bad stuff with him. He's not the answer. Donald Trump, hey, we know what we would get out of Hillary Clinton. We know what we would be getting out of a presidency with Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump, we might have some ideas. We might have some warnings. We might have some reservations. And I think that's fair. And I think there's probably about 5 or 10 legitimate issues you could bring up that are concerns. Him saying that Edward Snowden should be executed for defending our Fourth Amendment against illegal search and seizure. I'm sorry, that's not one of them. That's not legitimate. I cannot defend that. And so that would therefore fall into the category of something that is indefensible. However, you know, we know what we're facing in Hillary Clinton, and it's just not certain that the Libertarian Party has made the inroads that they would have needed. Now, if Ron Paul or Rand Paul would jump into the Libertarian race real quick and win the nomination, I think we're talking about a different story. But that's not the case in this election. You got Austin Peterson, you got John McAfee, you have Gary Johnson as the front runner. So we'll see how it plays out. But Blake, as we wrap it up, man, let me give you the last 30 seconds talking about the media, their manipulation and control, etc.
Well, Brian, I think you summed it up pretty well. And, they're being exposed. So it's been this long time rumor, like, are they blacklisting? What's going on? Are people actually getting these articles and snippets and videos, or is something going on behind the scenes? And now we're kind of getting to that, and we're going to find out soon enough. Hide from this forever. And, it'll be very telling once that's all exposed. Blacklists and all that good stuff. Manipulation of trends, and senators getting answers. I mean, that's a pretty big deal when it's up on Capitol Hill like that. So he's being called out by a prominent media guy at Breitbart. And we'll see what Zuckerberg has to say, if he's actually forced to say anything, and that's all I got.
All right. Well, Blake, thank you so much for your time. Everybody check out his homepage, eccentricperspective.com, and follow him on Twitter. He's at eccentric99. Blake, thanks again for your time. We'll do this again soon.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, buddy. You take care. And for everybody out there in the TNAM radio network, if you're listening live, I'm just going to kind of hit a hard reset and continue with Zach Barris talking about the Cavs, the Golden State Warriors, the Spurs, the Heat, the Raptors, the Thunder, and more on our sports show. Peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the NewAmericanMedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.